My name is Sheree Rice, and I'm a teacher at Richard Northeast High School.
My name is Rdng, and I'm a student at Richard Northeast High School, and I'm in 10th grade.
Okay, and what we have been working on is the inference strategy. We're working on building her reading comprehension skills. Um, so our lesson today is about factual questions. Okay, so what can you tell me about what we've previously been doing?
We've been working on the strategies and what we could do, like if we read in a passage, like if I want to go back to the passage, if I see a question that I like, after I read the passage, I go to the question, but first I read the question before I start the passage.
Okay, so what we talked about, do you remember what infer means?
A little bit.
Okay, take a look at your notes you took. So what does it mean to infer?
To make a conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
To make a conclusion about something based on hints and facts that you learn.
Correct. So like when we see the information in the passage, we use those hints and clues to answer the questions. Alright? So we have two types of questions that we started going over, right? You remember the two types of questions?
It was think and speak.
Think and seek questions, and what's the other one?
Factual.
Factual. Okay? And so we're gonna go over factual today, and then we also had the steps to the inference strategies. And how many steps were there?
3.
We had 5 in total, but we had 3. I'm glad you remember at least 3. But there's 5 steps in total. And if we look back at our notes here, our first steps here was to interact with the questions and passage. That's when we think about the questions, okay, when we interact with that. The second step is note what you know. Our third step is find the clues. And 4th, explore the supporting details. And then our 5th and final step is to return back to that question. Okay? So what we're really going to be working about is the part of step 2. We think about the questions, so we're thinking about factual questions and then how we answer those questions. Okay? So expectations today are just to listen and be able to participate in the discussion and at least get to one coding activity. But if not, we'll stop where we are and keep going. Okay, so what's a fact?
A fact is something that you like. A fact is what you get from somewhere.
Something you get from somewhere. It means it's
like kind of like a little note.
It's a note, but a fact, if I'm telling you that I know for a fact this is what happened, that means I know something is what? Real. It's true. So that means it's a true statement. Something is true and something is real. Okay? So it's something that we know actually occurred and the author has blatantly told us. It's already in that passage. Okay? So questions that require you to name a fact or tell you about something is those factual questions, okay? So we're gonna look at our cue card. So factual questions, they require finding a fact in the information that you have read. And then the answer is right there directly in the passage. So those are typically our easier questions. We can just go right in there and pull it out, right? You like those type of questions, don't you? All right, so there's several examples of factual questions. All right, so here's some examples of factual questions. And let me give you, we'll come back to it. Well, here, your lesson notes. Did I provide you with a pencil?
Right here.
Let me grab you. So, we'll just start from where we are. All right, so good factual questions are, what color is the boy's hair? And using the story, it tells us what color is the boy's hair. What is the name of the girl's best friends? How many years have people lived in that house? What is the train? Where's the train going? Who's on the boat with the lady? When did the man arrive? And which dog bit the child? Okay? What are some factual questions that you have encountered on a test, or some examples that you can give me?
Like they'll ask, what you think about this story? Like it would be a story and you have to read it first. They're like, what you think about this story? What should you title this story?
Okay, I think that's more of our evaluative questions, like more of a choice-based. Our factual questions are like what the details they already give us in there. So let's try again. What do you think? So if we read a story, let's say about Little Red Riding Hood, and they ask what color is her cape? So that's an example of a factual question. It's already in there because it told us Little Red Riding Hood and explained that she has on a red cape. Okay, so now you try to give me one.
Where was she going?
Okay, where she was going. Where was Little Red Riding Hood going?
Going to a granny house.
Going to the granny house, and that's in the story, right? So that's a good one. All right, so when we have factual questions, you realize that if it's keywords used, okay? And typically those keywords used in the questions, they are who, what, where, and how. Those are like our 5 general questions, right? We see those, we know it's a question because those are usually what we see, right? So when you see those type of questions, you might even want to underline them. You know, after you see one of those words, check the question is about something that has happened in the past versus something that will happen in the future. A factual question is about something that has happened in the passage and is described right there in the passage. A predicting question, on the other hand, is something that will happen in the future. Okay? We'll talk about those more as when we get to the predicting questions. Okay? So, when we're reading, we gotta remember, good readers attend to facts that they read. If you notice that the character has blonde hair, how will that help you?
You could go back and see, but if you already read it and know that the character has blonde hair, you already know that she has blonde hair.
And that puts a what in your head?
They'll put out that she already has blonde hair.
And can you see that person with blonde hair? It kind of gives you a visual, right? Right, it gives you a visual and you know how to relate to what you know, okay? So, you'll be able to use strategies like the visual imagery strategy better, or you'll be able to relate to what you're reading to something you already know if you use your strategies well and you understand and remember more. You'll be an active reader who learns a lot and gets good grades on tests, okay? So, there's good answers to a factual question, okay? So the characteristics of a good answer, it's a complete thought. We know sentences are made up of a subject and a verb, right? So it has a subject, it has a verb, and it also relates to the information. We use that as our support, right? And it answers the question. It doesn't go way off around the question, it directly answers that question, okay? So when you answer a factual question, you will have to answer it in your head or as a complete statement. That means you have the subject and verb. You must make sure your answer you choose is the same or directly related to the information in the passage. It tells you, so if the passage tells you somebody's 52 years old, they ask, how is the character, you would say?
52 years old.
Correct. All right, if the passage says a person is 5 years old, your answer says, you know, or maybe you wouldn't say the person is between ages 4 and 6. You would say the person is 5. Exactly. All right. And so that's right. You always choose an answer directly related to the information in the passage that answer the questions accurately. So when we read, we look for clues related to facts, okay? When you read a factual question, be sure to underline the keywords in the questions to help you know what the clues you're looking for while reading. For example, if the question asks you what color is Samuel's hair, what's the key word to underline?
The color of Samuel's hair.
Yes. You will underline